I always appreciate your guys' comments because a lot of times it fills me in on things I didn't know. It also helps me figure out if there was something in the last video that I didn't show well, and that way I can do it better next time. Let me show you a few more things that the comments led to here. Now the oil pressure's been fine, but the oil level was way over full when I first checked it, but that was at an angle. Then at a different angle, it was under full. So I'm going to check it now that it's level. I bet it's actually probably right. It's just you got to get the truck flat because the oil pan's so long. There's the dipstick. Yeah, we're real close. It's actually a tad over full, but on something that holds 3 gallons of oil, we're going to call it good. We're right in the ballpark. When I commented that this was a thermometer, someone said, oh, that's a sight gauge, so you can see the level of the fluid in the tank. They run a little bit of fluid out, you see where the level is on the outside, so you know what's inside. That's what I thought too. But it's not. I had a better view than you did on the video. You can barely see it. Let me try to zoom in real good. But it says TEMP right there. And that's not hydraulic fluid. That is a little bulb of, well, not mercury, but whatever they use these days. That definitely is a thermometer. It's an unusual feature. I haven't seen one of those before on a hydraulic tank, but it definitely is a temperature gauge. Another comment told me what this is. This is a lever I'd seen originally. It says not for parking on it. So obviously it's some kind of brake, but not for parking. They told me it was a trailer brake. If you have air brakes in your trailer, you can control the trailer brakes with this lever. In case you got some fishtail or something, you can straighten it out with this. But if it just works the trailer brakes, you wouldn't want to park the vehicle with it. So that makes sense now. So now I know what that's for. Now a couple of you have commented on this rubber flap. Basically this is in front of the radiator to keep the air from going through it. Basically when you're snow plowing, it's cold already. You don't need all the full airflow. You block some off, it'll warm up faster or maybe stay warmer because diesels do like a bit of heat to them. Now I did watch the temperatures while I was driving this and there was no problem. It actually, I think it was like 160 or so is the highest it got. So no problem with heating. But it's on a couple hooks here. Since it's summer and I don't have the plow on it anymore, I'm going to go ahead and take it off. There we go. It's just got a couple little S hooks here hanging it off the radiator, and that's it. Now I also notice, let me show you that. Let me put this away and I'll show you something else. Now I took that rubber flap off, I'm noticing the factory already had a plan. They have these slats, and those slats move. It looks like they can pivot. It's like the modern cars that close the grill for aerodynamics. This one closes the grill to keep heat in the motor. So I'm guessing this system failed or the rubber flap was easier, but it looks like the factory did take into account the need to block the radiator off as is. I had mentioned that the hydraulic routing went back and forth across the truck. It seemed overly complicated. Someone commented with something that makes total sense. You don't want the valve in the cab because fluid. The hydraulic fluid is going to get hot, it's flammable, it can leak. You don't want to have all that inside the cab where the person's operating it. So that's the reason for the remote operated cables, to keep the valve and all the hydraulics out of the cab, so that way it's actually safer and it's probably easier to work on because all the hydraulics are right here. Now another comment told me what all these were on the dashboard. These are actually circuit breakers. So instead of having, fuses under the dash for a circuit that goes bad, so if you have, for example, your turn signal short out, you can just reset the circuit right here. Which is nice, but how often do you actually need to reset all your circuits? I don't usually have that many fuses blow. But it is a cool feature. If a fuse does blow or if the circuit breaker pops, you just press the circuit and turn it back on. Well, that air line popped again, just from sitting a couple days. So this line definitely needs to be replaced. So I'm just going to shorten it up one more time and ignore it. All right, I kind of broke it. Not too bad, but the whole throttle pedal, the actual casting where the hinge is, that apparently wasn't pivoting and was pretty corroded, so it just completely snapped off. So I can't actually press the gas really. And maybe I get it jammed in there. So at some point I'm going to have to do something to attach that to the floor in order to actually use the pedal. So a little bit of fixing. Should be easy. I was just looking at this tiny little bed on this Oshkosh. I never really paid attention to it before. It's kind of interesting. Now it is a dump bed, but it's not a hydraulic dump, even though we have plenty of hydraulic power. It is a mechanical dump. It has a place where you crank it. Well, that actually even moves. You basically pull the pin up to allow this to turn. Oh yeah, there it goes. You can see it moving up and down. Let me make it sure I'm not bouncing the camera. By turning this crank, you can see it, I'm actually making this go up and down. It appears to have a lock that locks it in place. I'm guessing this, yep. You release it, turn it. If I had the handle here, I could probably make this operate. Let me try with a pair of pliers. Yep, there she goes. I can dump the bed with a pair of pliers. And that locks it in place securely. The other thing that's interesting is it doesn't actually pivot. It's on like a rocking chair kind of deal. It looks like it just kind of rocks and rolls along these rails backwards. So that's not actually attached to this frame. In theory, if it wasn't for that one lock up front, this could slide around. Kind of a little worrying. And then there's a mechanical interlock to the pins for the tailgate that is rusted through. But if this was all together, there's a locking pin for the tailgate. In theory, you could dump this and it should automatically pop its own tailgate open and let everything come right out. Which means this is a small little dump bed that doesn't need to be on a truck with hydraulics. That bed could go on a truck with nothing, and you just hook it up and have a mechanical dump. Granted, it's a lot more effort to have to crank the handle, but it would work. That's kind of neat. That might not stay on there. Found the crank handle for the bed in the cab, so let's make this thing go up. Alright, so we have release lever, and that actually works really easy. Of course it's empty, but alright, now this should be a stop. Let's see. That'll need some lubrication before it works. But there it is. It dumps. All functional. Let me get in here a little closer so you can see the mechanism. It's kind of neat. We have the crank with a stop going to a shaft. And that goes to a gear mechanism, compound gears, going to a partial gear. Looks like maybe half a gear. Can't really see it from this angle. And that has rollers that push up on the entire unit. And that is how it dumps. Is it just how it uses those rollers to push the whole thing up through this gearbox system. And there we have the latch mechanism. So when it drops, it latches into place. Click. Nice simple system. Wonder how old this is. If anyone has a guess at when they use these kind of things, let me know. My guess is probably 20s or 30s-ish, when hydraulics weren't nearly as common. but I really have no idea. That's a wild guess. So if you do know, please let me know, because I'd like to know what that is, and who knows, maybe that can go back on a truck like it came from. Another thing I noticed while I was under here was these giant tow hooks and this big hefty chain attached to them. So it's time to put this truck to work. A little more fluid and some purging the air out of the system, the power steering finally came around. Now it has virtually no feel at all. It's real easy. You can tell this was meant for a real heavy plow blade on the front with a lot of weight in those front tires. But nice and easy now with nothing up there. Gotta make sure I don't hit things. And that's it for now. It's raining again. I don't know why this water keeps falling out of the sky here. It's not like the desert at all. So I'm done with this at this point, but it's a ready to go workhorse. So next time I need a big job, got the machine for it. I'm on to more projects. So hope you guys are having fun with yours. I'll keep having fun with mine, and we'll see you next time.